What's up, everybody? This is Brian Mazik, aka Franchise Play, and there is a ton of new NBA 2K18 news out there today on Wednesday. It was this August 16th. We had the new Shook trailer with Mobb Deep, Shook Ones playing in the background, and obviously we had the trailer itself. And Mike Wang, the executive producer of gameplay on the series, he dropped a developer diary on the NBA 2K Facebook page. And so, like I said, there's a ton to react to. I'm going to play this trailer in the background, and I also took a ton of screenshots. So that's going to be going throughout this entire video, so you can take a look at that while you listen to what I have to say in regards to the Day of Diary. A lot of this I knew from my hands-on impression time that I had early in August out there in Nevada, California. Some of the stuff I did not know, and I was able to kind of compare it to my experiences and my memories of playing the game. We spent about 8 hours playing the game. I got a chance to get in about 8 or 9 games, so I know a little bit about the gameplay for sure. And so the information that I got from Mike Wang in this diary, I was able to kind of put it together. So I've already written this up on Forbes, but as I do normally, I'm going to do a video version of that write-up, and we're going to go ahead and talk from there. So we already know that graphics and modes and features are something that NBA 2K18 or NBA 2K in general just really excels at, but none of that matters if the gameplay isn't good. So it's going to be a pretty empty experience, and Mike Wang is one of the guys who has to make sure that the gameplay is not empty. So as I went over his diary, I had to kind of take a look at some of the things that he said, and I took some direct quotes and I used them kind of as jump off points so that I could kind of share my experiences. Now, I'm not going to necessarily put all of these quotes on the screen because some of them are pretty long. So some of them I'm going to read, but I'll say, quote unquote or whatever, so that you'll know when Mike Wang is talking and when I am going basically, just stating my opinion. So one of the first things he talks about is the new movement engine. And I believe that player movement, has been a positive and a negative for the NBA 2K franchise. Their animations usually flow more smoothly than any other sports video game, but at times it almost appears as though your player is on autopilot and they're kind of being held captive by a canned animation. Now, that's improved over the course of the series. So each year, you get a little bit less of that. But it's clear that Mike Wang and his team, they aim to pretty much free us up of the entire canned animation concept. So Mike Wang writes, to put it simply, movement is no longer driven by animations in NBA 2K18. Now, the stick input and a player's attributes are the sole components driving your character moves around the court. This gave us the ability to control exactly how quickly a given player can accelerate, decelerate, cut, and turn, as well as his speeds for different states, walking, running, shuffling, sprinting, etc., simply based on his attributes. The new motion engine then takes his data and dynamically finds and stitches together the animations it needs in real time to animate the character. Nothing is canned, nothing predetermined, everything is done on the fly. The results are night and day, and something you'll notice as soon as you pick up the sticks this year. Close quote. Now, in my time with the game, which was close to, like I said, about 8 hours, I can confirm that the controls for NBA 2K18 were as intuitive and less one command animation driven as they've ever been in the series. I've never been a really good dribbler in NBA 2K games. If you guys watch me and Juniors play, you see Junior is a much better dribbler than I am. But I felt that I was more in control of my player with the ball than ever before in NBA 2K18. Aside from actually pushing the wrong button on occasion, I didn't have not one of those "that's not what I meant to do" moments. Oftentimes you play NBA 2K18 and you're like, I'm trying to do this crossover, I'm trying to do this shot, and he does something different. You're like, what is that? So I didn't have any of those moments with 2K18. Fans can also customize acceleration and speed of the ball handler and off-ball players. You can do that if you want to just basically speed up or slow down the pace of the game. And the goal clearly is to eliminate the moments where, like Mike Wang says, the gamer felt out of control or that his player was doing something he didn't ask for. I think they're well on their way to accomplishing that goal. Let's talk about shooting, because everybody likes to shoot the ball, and that process has undergone some much needed and drastic changes in NBA 2K18. This quote from Mike Wang. With shooting, for example, last year we introduced shot aiming and put a heavy emphasis on shot timing, deciding makes and misses. The unfortunate side effects to some of these changes were that it became very difficult for us to balance the stick skill gap between new users and pro gamers, as well as across the various archetypes. So in many ways, it ended up devaluing player attributes, defensive impact, and all of the other factors that go into shot success, taking high percentage shots with the right types of players while also mastering your player's release. Close quote. Now, thankfully, shot aiming was removed. I never liked that. There's also a new shot meter with feedback that shows your release timing and the coverage of your shot. And the coverage of your shot is either graded as smothered, heavily contested, lightly contested, open, or wide open. This quote from Mike Wang. Green releases are still in the game, but aren't solely based on release timing. Close quote. Excellent releases, and I'm calling them that for a reason, are easier to get with better shots and harder to get with tougher shots, which I think is the way it's supposed to be. Now, I say excellent releases and not green releases because you can customize the field color of your shot meter. You can pick either white, your team color, black, gray, red, yellow, cyan, blue, or magenta. Now, I'm going with black, and I'm going to scream black out at the screen every time I hit the mark, and y'all already know I'm going to do it. So anybody that's listening to this video and has a YouTube channel, don't copy me. I'm using blackout. There will also be new pull-up jumpers, and the animations are really, really good. We were able to pull off a few of these shots doing the hands-on impressions that we got, and they're especially lethal with great dribblers who also excel at off-the-dribble jump shots, so think Kyrie Irving, Steph Curry, and others. To perform the moves, you need to hold the sprint button and move the pro stick in the same direction of your movement when you're driving laterally. With that command, you'll get explosive hop jumpers. Holding in the opposite direction of your drag will trigger a snatchback jumper. I couldn't break off any of those, but I believe there are a couple in the trailer that you can watch right now. So you can also do both of these shots by tapping the shot button and holding your left stick in the proper direction. There's a new layup system, which I think is pretty interesting because layups have seemingly become like more in style lately. You know, for a while everybody was just pretty much on dunk packages and all of that, and I think that a lot of the reason why we're seeing layups become more in vogue is because of the under rim superstars like Kyrie and Steph and Isaiah Thomas. In NBA 2K18, you can also now control cradle layups to avoid strips. If you drive to the basket and you hold the pro stick back and away towards your ball hand, or double tap the shot button while holding the left stick back and away towards your ball hand. You can cradle the ball much like Derrick Rose, Jimmy Butler, and others that do that when they drive to the basket. And one thing I did not know that I kind of can see now that I'm thinking back is they have new layup packages. So they have a circus package, and they call that the Kyrie Irving style with the jelly layups, quote unquote. Crafty Steph Curry scoop layups around the back finishes. Euro specialist, they say it's the perfect package for Dwayne Wade. I think the perfect package for Dwayne Wade is a retirement package personally, but that's just me. Explosive, designed for long jumpers who can explode off a launch pad like Russell Westbrook. You got floater specialists, lots of nice quick teardrops like Tony Parker or D Rose. The long athlete, great for long swings. Swingmen like Giannis Antetokounmpo, probably even Kevin Durant, even though he's not mentioned. The tank, modeled after strong athletic finishers like LeBron. And then you got the unathletic small, and Mike says he doesn't want to mention any names, but we all know the kinds of players that deserve that package. So in my 8 or 9 games played, I saw more new layups than I can remember. There are a ton of new animations on this front, and it's nice to see so many classifications. This was a limited area in the past, and the new additions will also help to create a player process, because now you'll be able to further differentiate the style of play for your creations. Another aspect of the game we want to talk about is strength and weight and how much it matters, especially in post play. One of the main physics related improvements that I noticed is the impact of size, strength, and weight. Wang touched on this component and offered a good example. Quote, "When you have DeMarcus Cousins mismatched with a small, you'll see him clearly push his way through on the back down for an easy dunk." Close quote. I can attest I did see those types of things. There are a ton of new post moves. I didn't explore them as much as I probably should have, but Wang and other members of the dev team were urging us to give that a spin. They kept asking us if you guys tested out the new post moves, and obviously we had a bunch of three-point shooters in there. You can chain multiple fakes together to perform up and unders and step through shots. This was in the game before, but now you do feel like you have more control over them. At least I did. Let's talk about ball handling. You can ignite triple threat, dribble, and post moves by tapping or double tapping the post up button. This is put in for the novice dribblers, according to Mike Wang, to prevent for mistaken shots. I mean, I think all of us have went up for a shot a couple times when we weren't necessarily trying to. That's just a thing that you have because you have the shot stick and the dribble stick on the same command. So there are also new dribble sequences for advanced dribblers, including walk-up, size-up dribbles, and combos. Quote, "New explosive rhythm dribble sequences, including a number of street ones that we had a couple years back, including dozens of new animations for many of the top ball handlers in the league. Simply tap the right stick toward the hoop and you'll see some really slick dribble combos and tons of new content." Close quote. The dribble combinations are both rewarding and slick, and as I mentioned before, much more intentional in this year's game. I felt like I had control over what I was doing, and that's important to me. Passing matters a lot in NBA 2K18, and this is the area of the game that I felt needed the most attention after I played that early build. I did like the new receiver control option that Wang discusses here. Quote, "Receiver control lets you take full control over one of your receivers with a single button press, letting you manually work to get them open before passing them the rock. Just point to a teammate with the left stick and press and hold the bounce button. While the button is held, you can use the left stick to move him around, then release the bounce pass button to pass. If you prefer to use last year's handoff/pitch pass option instead, that's available as an option too. You can also quickly choose a short pass versus a long skip pass with a single tap or hold of the pass button." Close quote. This helped me free up big scores once Wang pointed it out to me during the play session. It's especially helpful to set up isolations or to break off from the natural motion of a play. Feeding the post is a lot easier if you use the style passing, because one thing I didn't like is when you try to pass the ball sometimes to somebody in the post, and this happens in 2K17, happens in other 2Ks too, the guy will leave the area where you're trying to get him the ball. If you want to make sure that you're getting the ball to the guy in the area where you want him to, if you use this type of pass button and you hold the button down and you then take control of him and keep him where he is, you'll get the ball to the area where you want. You probably shouldn't have to do that, to be honest, but it's kind of difficult for the CPU to know, or the AI to know, okay, because he's in the middle of running the offense, and if the motion was saying for him to pop out to the elbow or pop out somewhere else from the post at that particular part of the play, and you're passing it before the play has run its course, then yeah, it's difficult to know when it should stop breaking it off. But if you do it this way, you'll get the pass in the area that you want it. Let's talk about defense. I think the blog doesn't talk enough about the improved defensive options. There's a newfound balance between the offense and the defense impact on the game. NBA 2K17 to me was heavily in favor of the offense from an AI and a gameplay mechanic standpoint. 2K18 seems to bring the defense back. Here's a quote from Mike. "Many people complained about stonewalling defenders that were able to clamp down ball handlers regardless of their ratings and somewhat unrealistically stifle the dribble drive game. The interactions and logic for ball handlers / on-ball defender collisions were reworked, and it feels much better. In NBA 2K18, if the ball handler can get a step on his man, or as a Westbrook or LeBron coming downhill prepare to see a blow-by for a clear drive to the hoop." This is a separate quote, but it matches, so I linked it together. He says, "Sure, the Kawhi Leonards of the league can still clamp down slower ball handlers, but for the most part, you'll see a lot of hip riding this year compared to the knockbacks and dribbler stuns from the past. Close quote. Getting the step on the defender was not as easy as it sounds in Mike's quote. It was not, I didn't find it that easy. That hip riding that he mentioned is real, and it's sometimes enough to force a pass, a bad shot, or even a turnover. Offensive players have to work to get good shots, and that's the way it should be. Now, here's another quote from Mike. He says, while in NBA 2K17, just holding down the intense D trigger would give you auto closeouts and jumping contests, which could be overpowered from time to time, it will now just register a lazy contest or no contest at all. So you'll have to be proactive on defense and use the right stick if you want to actively contest shots. You'll also have to be mindful on closeouts though, because if you ram your defender into the shooter, be prepared to be called for a shooting foul. I'm going to talk a little bit about fouls in a second, but I'm going to talk a little, that's a close quote, I'm sorry. Steals and blocks have been redone to combat spamming and to provide more realistic results from shot contest. And this is a quote from Mike. He says, the logic for ball vulnerability is much better this year. Rewarding you for reaching at the right times while punishing you with reaching fouls when you don't. For blocks, we have a new limb collision system. Now a dunker going up with one hand is much more vulnerable to getting blocked than a stronger dunker going up with two. Close quote. I love the loose ball scrambles, blocks, and the steals. I got a little bit of a problem with the fouls, but we'll talk about that in a second. Here's another quote from Mike. He says, we captured an insane number of animations to support a wide variety of outcomes based on the ratings of the players involved. Those outcomes consist of contested pickups, some that result in the ball getting knocked free again, loose ball dives, tie-ups, and loose ball fouls. They're definitely some of the coolest sequences that can happen in this year's game, especially when they chain together. Speaking of loose balls, contested rebounds can also result in unsecured catches this year. These 50-50 balls help make the game feel a little less messy, just like real basketball, and puts a greater emphasis on the importance of the hustle and hands rating. Close quote. You can see some of those loose ball sequences in the trailer that's been playing here. They look great. I didn't really see that many of them. I saw a lot of them, a lot of scrambles for rebounds. So that 50-50 ball after a rebound, yeah, I saw those, but the tap-aways, maybe one or two, but not any as awesome as I saw in the trailer. So, but I mean, I don't necessarily want to see that type of loose ball scramble every game, because, you know, it's kind of organic. It's got to happen when it happens, and you appreciate it more when it doesn't happen all the time. This is me talking basically about how I feel about the steal or block shots. I think that there was an appropriate risk reward component for going for a steal or a block shot. Although I did think that players missed too many shots close to the rim. This has always been an issue, I think, for some in the past with 2K, but I found even more of it in the hands-on session that I had. I told the devs about it, as did some of the other people there, and they said that we were told that it could be tweaked before release, so I'm hopeful that it will be more realistic for the launch. I thought the fouls were a little too sensitive, as I mentioned, for my taste, but I like the thought process behind what causes a foul. This is Mike talking about that. He said, we made significant changes to how we call fouls too. So if you're in a good position when attempting a shot block and you have a good shot blocker, you'll have a much lower chance of being called for a shooting foul. But on the other hand, if you're in bad position, trailing the play, or have a bad shot blocking rating, expect to see a lot of fouls. Close quote. Now, that is conceptually flawless, only there were times when fouls were called on players who were behind the player attempting to shoot, and it didn't even appear as though there was any contact, or at least not enough to call a foul. So, you know, that was another aspect of the game that we were told could be tuned. But in all, I would have to say, as I close out this pretty long video with a lot of talking and a lot of reading, in summary, the game was in good shape when I got my hands on it in early August. It sounds as if there's been probably at least 2 to 3 builds since that build. And so by September 15th, which is the release date, fans should be hoping, and they should have, a pretty good chance of seeing the game be more polished than it was before. And if they continue on the track that they were on, it should be the best gameplay that we've seen. that is all I have for this particular piece of information. I mean, there's so much coming out rapid fire. I mean, we're starting to see some of the classic teams, 96, 97 Heat, the 05, 06, I think it is Grizzlies, and 12, 13 Grizzlies. I have no idea why the 05, 06 Grizzlies are in, but okay. All-time teams are beginning to be released. The whole nine. It's getting exciting. I do appreciate you watching as always. Hit that subscribe button and that like button. Until next time, God bless and peace.